talking to some of you, and whenever I talk to people about playing guitar, they often tell me that at some point throughout their lives they tried to play guitar, but they found it too difficult, so they gave up and they just dropped it, but they always wanted to learn how to play. I'm Amanda Siller. I learned how to play guitar when I was 11, so I've been playing for a few years now. I taught guitar lessons at a music school in Staten Island called the Staten Island School of Rock. And today I am not expecting you to be a pro at playing guitar by the end of this presentation, but I want you to realize that it's not completely impossible to play guitar. It's a really fun and cool skill to have. And by just knowing a few basic chords, you can actually play a lot of different songs. So starting out with the parts of the guitar, the most important that you need to know are the head, which is where the tuning pegs are, and that's how you get the guitar to sound the way you want it to. The neck, and then the frets, and the frets are important because if someone is teaching how to play guitar and they say play a chord on the second or the third fret, you need to know where to place your fingers to get the sound that you want. And these are some screenshots from a YouTube video called Parts of an Acoustic Guitar for Beginners. So in an article by Matthew Crump, he states that having a visual representation of the chords on the guitar can be helpful in order to learn them. So these are some chord charts, and what makes this easier to learn is this kind of mimics the neck of the guitar, so you know where to place your fingers in order to play the chords. And it might be a little overwhelming at first, but once you look closer, you can see that these are the frets, and this would be the top of the guitar, and these are the 6 strings. So I brought my guitar in so I can show you how these chords translate onto the neck of an actual guitar. So the first chord is D major, and as you can see, it's on the 2nd and 3rd frets, and it uses the bottom 3 strings. So that sounds like this. So you can see how that looks just like the chord chart up there. And then there's A major, which is on the 2nd fret and uses 3 fingers, and it sounds like this. And then we have E minor. And then we have G. And these 4 chords are probably the simplest of the chords that you can learn, and they're really good for beginners. And you can play, one example of a song you can play is Drops of Jupiter by Train, just using these 4 chords, which is a pretty popular song. So, an article from David Hamburger called 3 Tips for Playing Chords Cleanly discusses a few tips that make learning how to play guitar a lot easier, and it's some of the things that people get frustrated with sometimes, and that's what causes them to stop learning and give up. So one thing is the proper hand shape. As you can see in this picture, you want to keep your fingers, your hand round, and use your fingertips, which is also mentioned in the article, because if you are not using your fingertips and your fingers are flat on the neck of the guitar, then you're muting other strings and you're not going to get the sound out that you want. You also want to make sure that you're pressing down hard enough on the strings so you're not just muting them and getting kind of a muted sound. Another important thing, which is mentioned in an article from ultimateguitar.com called Types of Guitars and Posture for Beginners. The posture is really important because if you're hunched over the guitar and you're not sitting up straight and your arm isn't out, then you're also not going to be able to get the sound that you want. And it's just going to become difficult, and you can develop habits that are really harmful, and you can even get pain in your wrist from holding the guitar the wrong way. So in order to avoid developing those habits that are really hard to break once you get into them, you really need to make sure you follow all these techniques to properly learn how to play guitar. And it makes it a lot easier too, and then you can realize, oh, it's not impossible to play if I'm playing the right way. So after this, we discussed the parts of the guitar, some basic chords that you can use to play really a number of songs, and some important techniques to make sure that you're developing the proper habits when playing guitar. And after this, I hope that everyone that has ever wanted to play guitar but thought that they couldn't do it realizes that anyone can really do it as long as you put in just a little bit of practice, at least 15 minutes every day, and it really is a fun thing to do and a really cool skill to have. So after learning these chords, practicing them every day, you can really develop a skill and play a number of songs just with even a few basic chords.